It's a whodunit.
We won't tell.
You'll have to read the book.
So welcome back to the Book Barn. I'm Lasha.
And I'm Lanie. And today we'll talk about this month's book club book, and then we'll also share from our individual libraries.
Hey, but first, let's talk about our Facebook group.
Yes!
We've been having some fun there. We've asked our members some questions recently, and we thought we'd share some of those answers with you.
Yes. The first one that I have up is, tell us about a book that made you cry. And the first answer I saw was from Sarah, and she said, Algebra 1.
Yeah. And I knew that she meant a textbook, but I had to go Google it anyway and make sure that there wasn't some novel.
A book called that. That is funny.
I didn't find one, just textbooks.
Well, I actually changed my answer. My first answer was The Wedding by Nicholas Sparks. But then at school the other day, I finished Wonder. And every year I read that book, and every year I cry, and students just look at me like, what is going on?
That you don't have any of them cry?
Some do get sad.
Yeah.
Not quite as sad as the teacher.
Oh. And I didn't even answer it because I have so many. I get very emotional.
And that's okay.
One of the last books that I read, actually one that I'll be talking about today, Statistically Speaking, I think it's a pretty new release, and I read it and I cried. So I'll share that with you in just a bit.
Yeah. And I tell my kids at school, I do say, if it makes you laugh or if it makes you cry, it's a really good book.
Yeah. And what were some of the other answers?
By the Shores of Silver Lake.
Who gave us that answer?
That was from Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy.
Tuesday with Morrie. That was from Sandy, and she said that's just one of many. So we appreciate that answer. Oh, Melissa, she said The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. That's a book for children.
Yeah. Let's see. We had some other questions.
Oh, the one about you are given $100 to spend at a bookstore. So what are you buying?
I think you said historical fiction, thrillers.
Thrillers, but then I think I would just go to my to-read list on Goodreads and just start buying all those books.
Oh, yeah, great idea. I think I would probably just walk in. I'm such a visual person, so I would just go to like some of the displays, maybe the new releases, and check out all the pretty covers and see if there's something that catches my eye. And so I think that's what I would do first, or maybe even how to. Because I like to sew, and maybe I'd find a book about sewing or something like that.
I love that.
And then we had several of our members say that they would buy books for their grandchildren, and I probably would do that too.
Same.
And then like Joe said, she'd spend more than $100. And I'm sure I would too.
That was a fun answer. And I liked Lynn's answer as well. She said activity books like word puzzles and adult coloring books.
Oh, one more. Silence or background music?
Not one person said background music.
Yeah, or background noise. I thought somebody might be listening to music while they read. I can't do it. I can if necessary, but I don't put music on intentionally.
I do not put anything on. TV, nothing. No. Yes.
It's too distracting for me, and then I have to reread and reread.
And didn't some say that they could read while the television was on, but that they preferred silence?
Yes.
So thanks to all that did post, and hopefully we'll continue to get some good questions out there. Well, now we're going to talk about our pick for this month, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman.
That was a fun book.
I liked it.
So Richard Osman is an English television presenter, producer, comedian, and now a New York Times bestselling author. He mentions in the acknowledgments that a retirement community that he had visited inspired him to write this novel as it was filled with extraordinary people.
It's the perfect blend of wit and mystery. You know, every time I pick up a British book or novel, I find myself wanting to speak British.
Isn't that the same as English?
Well, that accent, right? It's that accent.
Yes, no, I'm just teasing you. Yes, I do the same. I practice my accent all the time, at least in my head, anyway.
Right. So speaking of that, do any of our listeners have kids who have been speaking with a British accent because of Peppa Pig? Because my granddaughter does.
Does she? That's cute. Well, I did think that this was seriously a laugh out loud kind of book. Joyce. She was such a fun character.
My favorite.
Yeah, I started this book and started laughing. I told my husband, I said, this is going to be fun.
And you know I like those older characters.
Oh, you do? Yes.
And this book was full of it.
Full of them, yes.
Speaking of mystery, killing someone is easy. Hiding the body, now that's usually the hard part. That's how you get caught. Osman's writing is bloody brilliant.
So we're not going to do any spoilers, because we want our listeners to read this book. When you get to those last few chapters and you really have no idea what's going to happen, I mean, that's the fun, right?
Absolutely. Do you have a word, Lasha?
I think my word is entertaining, because it definitely was.
I agree. My words are clever and witty. The residents at Cooper's Chase Retirement Village were smart and fun. So this was billed as Britain's first luxury retirement village. Lasha, I think I could almost live there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Cooper's Chase, for sure. It had a pool, a jacuzzi, a sauna,
rec room, jigsaw room,
flat screen TVs where they could watch football, upscale restaurant.
Nice.
Yeah, great food.
Lakes with ducks and geese and llamas and sheep up on the hill.
And a chapel. And they even played
snooker.
Yeah.
I love playing snooker.
I've played snooker with you.
You have.
Maybe we'll play snooker today.
We should.
Right here in the book barn. So these characters, Lanie, where do we even start? They're so fun.
Elizabeth. Okay, did it ever say that she was a former spy? Because I really think she might have been.
Yeah, I don't think it actually said, but definitely implied she was some type of secret service. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They said she was an acquired taste, kind of the leader.
Yeah, definitely the leader.
Very confident.
Which I think her job gave her all the confidence she needed there. Yeah. And Joyce, oh, she was so funny. We got to hear Joyce in the first person as she wrote in her journal.
Yes.
But the rest of the book was written in third person. And so it gave you just such very different perspectives there. But it was really fun to hear Joyce's voice. And she was organized, a former nurse. She had one of those kind faces where she just would blend into the background, but everybody liked her. And she baked.
Delicious, delicious food.
Yummy sounding desserts. And yeah.
I thought that Joyce kind of reminded me of my grandma.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because my grandma was kind and always had cookies for me when I came to visit. So I really loved Joyce.
Yeah. And then there was
Ron. Yeah. They said that he was a famous trade union leader in his younger years. Maybe difficult? Maybe? Did you think he was difficult?
I just thought he was like the big tough guy, rough.
Firm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rough around the edges kind of guy.
I would agree with that. May have invited himself to the club.
And he had a famous son.
Oh, that's right.
Jason. Yeah. He was a famous boxer. And then Abraham.
Yes. Psychiatrist. And maybe the glue to the club, maybe.
And what about Bogdan?
Oh, you said that well.
Did I say that right? I don't know. There were some names in here that I really didn't know how to say for sure, but Bogdan. Yeah. What about him? I like how he played chess with Stephen. I thought that was so sweet.
And Stephen was the husband of Elizabeth.
Yeah. And he was had dementia or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Other characters that may be of importance is Bernard. He had a sad story. He had lost his wife. And anytime I think of a widow or widower in their older years, it makes me sad.
We have Chris and Donna.
Yes.
Those are the police officers that are working the case.
and maybe become friends with the
Thursday Murder
Murder Club. We also have John and Penny.
Yeah.
Sad.
They're pretty important to the story.
And then Father Matthew Mackey. That's all we're going to say about that.
Did he bother you being Catholic?
No, he didn't bother me.
You just don't want to give anything away?
I just don't want to give anything away.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Yes. I do have a paragraph.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to read it actually from the book. So my paragraph is from chapter 11, and that's page 42. And it said, "Nobody here is grabbing toast before an early train to the office or packing a lunchbox before walking the kids, but there is much to do nonetheless. Many years ago, everybody here would wake early because there was much to do and only so many hours in the day. Now they wake early because there is much to do and only so many days left." I know. It made me sad.
You know, so that was actually going to be my paragraph, Lanie.
Are you for real?
I am for real. My little note was the first 2 paragraphs on page 42.
Wow.
So it was the one right before yours. I'll read it.
Okay.
"Cooper's Chase always wakes early, and the foxes finish their nightly rounds, and the birds begin their roll call. The first kettles whistle, and the low lamps start to appear in curtained windows. Morning joints creak into life." So I loved those 2 together. I thought that was great imagery, you know, just you felt like you were there. You understood. Yeah.
Yes. And I also made note of another line that said, "You always know when it's your first time, don't you? But you rarely know when it's your final time." And that made me sad as well. Do you remember like the last time you were able to put one of your kids on your lap? Isn't that sad to think of? I'm like, you remember the first time when you first held them.
Right.
But it's hard to remember that last time.
Oh, yeah.
So this gang of friends, they meet up once a week to investigate unsolved murders. The owner of the retirement village, he wants to build more. He wants to cut down trees, and a graveyard is to be dug up. The Thursday Murder Club, with some help, has a murder to solve that happened in their own backyard.
And actually, a few murders as bodies start to add up.
They do. Okay, Lasha, on page 260, that is when I thought I had it all figured out.
Ah.
Yes. And on chapter 88, that is the chapter that made me cry.
Oh.
So they'll just have to get there to know what I'm talking about.
I'm going to look through my notes really quick and see what else that I had. Oh, I didn't just speed through this book like I thought maybe I would. Right when I first started, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And it was fun. It was funny, very witty. I was very entertained. But it became confusing at times because it would like switch it up. And I just had trouble keeping track of everyone's names right to begin with. And like when they would bring in a secondary character or somebody who's helping them along the way. And I'm like, now who the heck is that? I think one time they started talking about Austin. Joyce did. And I didn't know who Austin was. And so it kind of confused me at times. And then I did notice that I just couldn't stick with it for like long periods of time. Like it just became
a lot.
Yeah. I think there was just so much banter and so much to keep track of too that I just had to give my brain a rest.
We might recommend that people that read this, it might be better to read the actual book, because if you're listening on audio and all that's happening, it might get super confusing.
Well, did you listen?
I did not. I read the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of our other book club girls listened, and that's what her complaint was, that it got confusing. I will say I did recommend this book to my daughter-in-law's sister. She hasn't been reading, and I thought this would be a good book for her to read because of the short chapters. But maybe not. Maybe
not. I don't know. I mean, I very much enjoyed the writing as being so witty, very funny. Character development is what it's all about.
Completely.
Which I have listened to an interview with Richard Osman, and that is something that he was like, character. Like the plot for him is kind of a secondary thing. And, but all these characters are really, they are the star. Absolutely.
You completely fall in love with them.
Yes. I do think that it can get a little like just dizzying at times, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, really good book. This is a very fun little side note here. I noticed a lot of hand motions. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Like held up his hand, showed his palms. So I think that's so you could visualize what that character was, their actions, and you could see it happening. But there was a lot of hand movement, I noticed. Not a criticism, just something that I noticed.
that detail.
It's kind of a thing. People talk about authors using the line, "I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding," that it's overused, which I think it's not overused because it has its place for you to know how tense someone was and they were holding their breath without even realizing it. They complain about it. I don't get it as being something to complain about, but the hands, I really noticed him using a lot of hands in this book.
And it bothered you?
Oh, I don't know that it bothered me. It was just something that I noticed.
Okay.
After about, the fifth or sixth time of somebody holding up their hand or showing their palm or something, I was like, he must speak with his hands like I do.
As she's waving at me.
As I'm waving at her right now. My hands. So, no, it was a cute book, and I do recommend it. Do we want to rate it? Or do we just say, read it?
I will throw my rating out there just for fun. I'll give it a 4.
Yeah.
I would. It's not a 5 for me.
Yeah.
But I thought it was humorous. I loved the characters. I want to read the second book and have started the second book because I just kind of wanted to.
I probably would give it slightly less than a 4.
And that's fair.
But I did like it. So again, with me and the I don't know how to rate a book, maybe if we went from a score of 1 to 10, it might be easier for me.
It would be easier.
I might give
and we
this one
could
like
do that. We could do that.
I might give this one like a 6 or a 7.
Okay. So mine would be like an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. So new to us, we score now 1 to 10. There was like a quote from Val McDermid I think was it at the front? Yes, it was at the very front of the book. Do you want to read that quote?
Sure. A warm, wise, and witty warning, never to underestimate the elderly.
And I liked that.
Yeah.
So it was a good book. The next book in the series is called The Man Who Died Twice. I have it as an audio. And have
you started it?
Just getting started.
All right. I think we will let our readers find out all the answers to this book when you pick up your own copy of the Thursday Murder Club.
You won't be disappointed.
No.
Lasha, what is your book?
My book is Statistically Speaking by Debbie Johnson.
Why did you or how did you find this book?
Well, it was on Hoopla.
We love Hoopla.
We do. It was an ebook. I wanted to read it, not listen to it, although they have the audio on Hoopla also. It was released in 2024, so it is a fairly new book.
Nice.
And I was thinking it was a shorter book. It's 384 pages, but it was pretty easy, pretty quick to get through, I felt like. I read the first 2 chapters, and I bawled like a baby. So it starts out, there's a 16-year-old mother giving birth.
Oh.
She's in the delivery room. She is a foster child herself. She's in foster care. And she has her social worker with her, and she's delivering her baby and giving her baby up for adoption.
What a choice of love.
Goodness. So that's the first chapter, is her in the delivery room. And the second chapter, I'll probably start crying when I talk about it. It is a letter to her unborn baby.
Oh boy.
It broke my heart. And it was so loving and just, it had me hooked, okay? But that was just the backstory. The remainder of the book is 18 years later.
Okay.
And the mother, Gemma, is now an adult. 18 years later, she is a history teacher.
Oh, great. She did well then.
Yes. And she's single, and she has attachment, commitment issues, which obviously, we think we can understand those.
Sure.
She had a rough childhood with her mother. Her mother was a drug addict, but she was also bipolar. Just heartbreaking story. But this is a comedy also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
I know. It's funny. Lots and lots of funny pieces, lines in this book. But there is a great storyline that goes along with it. And I really just love this book. And I gave it 5 stars or 10 if we're going
to 10.
If we're going to 10, maybe 9. But, really, it was really good. I don't know how much I want to give away.
I don't think I want you to give it away because I want to read it now.
Yeah, it's really good. So let me tell you that she meets a girl.
Okay.
It's a new student who comes into her classroom. And that student has the same birthday as her daughter that she gave away. And that the student was adopted.
Is it her daughter?
Well, you have to read it and find out.
Oh my God.
But she forms a very good friendship with the mother of the student.
Sure.
This was before she even knew that Katie is the student.
Lasha, the hairs on my arms are sticking out now.
And she has the PE teacher in school. She has a little flirty thing going on with him, and their relationship kind of grows. She rents a room, a flat above. She's like a 60-year-old lady who has terrible arthritis, and she has this really great relationship with her. And she's never stayed put these 18 years after she's given birth. When she goes to college and she gets her degree, she starts teaching. But when things start to seem like
tough,
like she just can't put down roots. She can't be attached to anything. And when things start to seem like it's a little bit too comfortable, she thinks it's time to leave. And so this is like the longest she's been anywhere. And she feels herself she panics a little bit because she's thinking, it's too much. I just need to leave. I just need to get away. But then she also finds comfort in all of it too. And it's a new feeling for her. And like maybe she can do this. And she's accepting of the new friendships she's forming and the new relationships that are growing. And it's a great book. And it is funny, and you will laugh and laugh, but you will cry. And yeah.
Hey, I have a road trip coming up and I need a good audiobook. I might listen to it.
I bet it would be a good audiobook. Yeah, I do.
So, well, thank you.
Statistically Speaking by Debbie Johnson.
Nice. Okay, my book is The Life We Bury by Allen Eskens. And it is a USA Today bestseller. And it is said to be a good book club book. The author, Allen, has a journalism degree, but he also has a law degree, and he studied creative writing. So he is the author of 9 novels. The Quiet Librarian is being published on February 18th.
All right.
So I think we should add that to some of our vote lists.
Okay.
The Life We Bury's main character is Joe Talbot, and he has a writing assignment for his college English class. He is supposed to write a biography about an elderly person. And so he goes to it's like a retirement village, but it's nothing like the retirement village from our previous story.
Not in the murder club.
This one has mold and
oh, no.
Yeah, smells like cleaner and
probably something else.
Probably. So not good. But Joe was originally from Austin, Minnesota. It is known as Spam Town. They make Spam there. Have you ever had Spam?
Oh, yeah.
Do you like Spam?
I don't mind it.
I do not like it. When we were kids, my parents would take us on vacation with the camper, and there was always Spam involved in some of the lunches.
Yeah.
And ugh.
Raw? I mean, like just right out of the can, or did they?
I feel like Mom might have fried it like you would fry like fried bologna, maybe?
Yeah. Do you like fried bologna? No?
No.
But I like fried Spam.
It's been a long time, but isn't there like this jelly stuff around it too?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah, I'll just wipe that off.
Okay. So anyway, I like this part because it was talking about Austin. So Joe thinks this town has some good things about it. And he says, and I'm going to read this quote.
Okay.
People don't always see the skin beside the pimples. I really like that line.
That's a weird line.
It is, but think of all these small towns that are going downhill. There's always such beautiful little nuggets about those towns, but then everybody just sees the gross part, the pimple.
Okay.
So that's how
I get
I
it.
took that. But I like that line. This Joe, he has a messed up life. His mom's an alcoholic. She is bipolar, very similar to what you said about your book. He has a brother that's autistic and can't be alone for long periods of time. The author's moments with that brother, his name was Jeremy, so well written. I mean, you just have to read it, but he did such a good job. You fall in love with Jeremy. Probably my favorite character in the book, actually. So anyway, going back to this assignment, Joe goes to this retirement village to see if anyone will let him write their, biography. And the lady at the desk says, most of the people in here can't even remember their family members.
Yeah.
But there was one person that they thought Joe could interview. His name is Carl Iverson. And Carl agrees to the project. He says it will be his dying declaration or confession because Carl's dying of cancer, but he just got out of prison for murder. And that's why he got out of prison, because he's dying.
Oh.
And so they send him to this retirement village. So we have to decide, is this man a monster? And you have to read the book to find out.
Yeah.
He does have a friend, Carl does. His friend is Virgil Gray, and he believes that Carl is innocent. Virgil says that Carl saved him during Vietnam, and he tells Joe that Carl did kill men in Vietnam, but he did not kill that girl. So thanks to Joe's autistic brother, Jeremy, Joe meets his neighbor, this very beautiful girl, and she kind of helps Joe figure out the truth about Carl, his confessions, his biography. And so he and Lila dig deeper into the circumstances of the crime, the murder, and truths are revealed. This book had very strong character development. It made me revisit my thoughts on a previous book we read, The Sun Does Shine. This book has tragedy, trauma, guilt, some pretty gruesome war stories, confessions, and second chances. So I thought it was great. If we were doing a 5-star, I'd give it 5. If we're going to give it a 10, scale, 9.5.
9.5.
So good.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think, should read it.
All right.
I really, really enjoyed it. So anyway, give it a go. My book is The Life We Bury by Allen Eskens. I think we just covered 3 really good books.
Yeah, we did.
And some connections, too, with retirement homes.
Yeah. And you know something else about the Thursday Murder Club that I thought with Joyce's diary, it reminded me a little bit of, obviously nothing along the same plot line, but
I know what you're going to say.
It ends with us.
Yes.
Because her letters to Ellen, because you hear, that character speaking like just being themselves. That's kind of what that reminded me of.
Yeah. Lots of connections. And then your book had the bipolar mother. And so did mine. So some connections there.
Yeah.
It always makes me happy. I mean, I know they're books, but makes me happy that people can be good adults after having such tragic childhoods.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would say all 3 books are worth reading.
I agree.
Well, I think it's time, Lasha, to wrap this up. I guess it's time for us to go play snooker.
All right. That will be fun. I'm going to beat you.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Until next time, everyone, I'm Lasha.
And I'm Lanie.
And keep your bookmarks busy.